and welcome back to Grindhouse, where we drink coffee and talk about movies. My name is Leah Diana, and with my boyfriend and co-host, Shawn Tetrault, we will be winding back the reels to 1985. Upon breaking out of a dungeon, youthful thief Felipe Gaston befriends Captain Navarre, a man with a strange secret. Navarre and his lover, Lady Isabeau, were cursed by the wicked bishop of Anquilla, who desires Lady Isabeau for himself. His dark magic prevents the pair from ever being in each other's presence except at twilight, so they enlist Gaston in a dangerous plot to overthrow the bishop and break his enchantment in LadyHawke. Let's get into it.
Matthew Broderick, a pickpocket who thought that anything was better than prison. Little did he know, what he'd escaped from wasn't half as strange or frightening as what he'd stumbled into.
I do not believe what I believe, Lord. These are magical, unexplainable matters, and I beg you not to make me a part of them.
The knight who had saved him wanted only two things: to free his lover and to take his revenge.
I have waited almost 2 years for a sign from God.
Sir, the truth is I talk to God all the time. And no offense, but he never mentioned you.
The pickpocket was the key to his plan. But would you send a thief to guard your treasure? He was the last one in the world to act like a hero. It just happened by itself. And he was drawn into a magical, romantic adventure. Matthew Broderick, Michelle Pfeiffer, Rutger Hauer, LadyHawke.
Spread the word, you dirty cocksuckers. Tell all your grave robbing friends I want them out of the city now!
The nightmare of insane murder. From the depths of hell. Through the angel of death. Only at the Grindhouse.
He's giving me the signal to start the episode, but little does he know I have nothing to say right now, other than staring at his big, beautiful green eyes. I don't know what color his eyes are. He just twitched.
They're hazel.
You're Hazel.
Welcome back to Grindhouse, where a couple of clowns talk about movies.
We want a clown. We need Andrew here.
Eventually.
Everybody! Oh, when you do any wrestling movies, he's in this
talk
seat,
that
I'm not.
Motherfucker into joining us at one point.
He's gonna piss himself laughing. Anywho, so we watched a 1985 classic because I've never heard of this before researching for some other project we do.
This is a movie that I've heard of many times, never seen, because I think I've already said before, I'm not super into high fantasy stuff.
No, you're not.
However, this one surprised the shit out of me.
It has more of like a Lord of the Rings meets like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I'm not even fucking kidding. Matthew Broderick has ye old day off in this thing.
Oh, God.
Am
He's
I
never
wrong?
going to get away from that part.
And this is before that.
It
That
is.
was like late 80s. This is mid 80s.
So, LadyHawke was directed by Richard Donner. Richard Donner, for most movie fans, is most known for the first two Superman films with Christopher Reeve.
This is a bug.
It stars Matthew Broderick, Rutger Hauer, Michelle Pfeiffer, Leo McKern, and John Wood, with a small part by Alfred Molina.
Yeah, Doc Ock.
That was pretty cool.
That was, and he still looked dirty and gross. I think he looked dirty and gross in all of the Doc Ock
Really?
I think so. But that's just the character that he plays.
Yeah. He also plays a somewhat sleazy priest in Da Vinci Code.
God, now I gotta rewatch because I don't remember seeing him in it.
So this movie, it's a Warner Brothers 20th Century Fox high fantasy film. It was originally released April 12th, 1985.
Damn, so we are... Wait a minute, what is the date?
Today is April 9th.
So in a couple of days, it will have its 36th birthday! Oh, this movie's as old as I am. Oh, God.
This was made on a budget of $20 million.
I can see why.
But it brought in a box office of $18.4 million.
So it was a commercial flop.
Not so much a flop. It did miss the mark, though.
Yeah.
And I can understand why, because I think if you're not paying enough attention to this movie, you will get lost.
And honestly, until it snapped in my head at some parts, I was like... And then it went, oh, like you heard me visibly go, oh, okay, I get it. I get it now.
It took until I think it was about almost at the midpoint to where everything kind of came together and you were like, oh, that's what's happening.
That's it, okay. But they don't give you any clear, like, they don't hold your hand with this one. They're like, here's the story. Fucking figure it out. Which I appreciate, but I also see where... in the mid-'80s, it wasn't going to flesh out. This movie would have done spectacularly now. Spectacularly.
I think so.
Like, with all the high fantasy, the Lord of the Rings, the Harry Potter, like, all of that Game of Thrones, this is like a nice little nest right in between that stuff.
Agreed.
Back then, no. People thought, like, high fantasy and Dungeons & Dragons was stupid back then. No offense if you did like it. I am a huge nerd of D&D and all of that crap. Trust me, I've got books everywhere. They're just hiding. And I play D&D. Have been for about close to 17 or 18 years now. But honestly, there was a big, like, whole kick about all that shit back then. So I can see where it kind of missed the mark.
This comes off less like a high fantasy than I expected. And it's more like a period...
drama?
Romantic drama.
Yeah,
like,
it's interesting.
It's very like the story behind it. If you look past like some of the lower production issues and stuff like that, it's a really strong story.
It is.
And I would almost say you could do a pretty good remake of this now. I don't want it, but
no. But you know what? I don't want it, but I kind of do. I kind of want to see this movie get a little bit of a spotlight. Because, like, come on. Matthew Broderick was so young. Michelle Pfeiffer looked incredible. Rutger Hauer? You were fanboying a little when he came on
Rutger
screen.
Hauer.
So
I've loved Rutger Hauer ever since I first saw him in The Hitcher. Because I'm a huge horror fan. So, like, obviously, I was introduced to him there. And then I saw him in Blade Runner. And all the way up until Hobo with a Shotgun.
He's in Hobo with a Shotgun?
He's the hobo.
We have been making Hobo with a Shotgun jokes for the entirety of our relationship. And I didn't know Rutger Hauer was the hobo.
Oh, yes. And he is fucking amazing.
I've been missing out, guys.
Don't worry. We'll
I've
get
never
her
seen
there.
Blade Runner. I've never seen half the stuff that all of these great actors are in. Except for Jean-Claude Van Damme. He can go away.
Have you seen the poster for this movie?
Is this it? Because this is what I thought it was.
No. That's a poster.
That's a poster.
But the actual theatrical poster for this is gorgeous. Yep, that's the one.
That's the poster?
Yeah. That is a pretty poster.
Sick poster.
And friggin' Rutger Hauer's not even on it.
Does Rutger Hauer have to be on everything?
Well, I mean, he's one of the main characters. It's kind of surprising.
Look up LadyHawke 1985, Leah. There it is. Wow, it's very colorful. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it has the sword. It has her. It has Matthew. What? Rutger Hauer is like the biggest part of that fucking movie. Why
I
is he
know.
not on it? Like even this one that I have as the background for today. Why? Where's Rutger, man? Where's Rutger?
No love for the Hauer. So do you want to kind of start kicking us off on how we got through this?
Yes. So I realized while researching a little bit, I don't have a lot of fun facts about this one. You're fun fact man on that laptop today. This is set in medieval Italy, and the castle that the bishop is in is based off of an actual castle in Italy from medieval Italy. I cannot pronounce it. It's Aquila. That is Aquila. That is where the bishop's from. But it's L'Aquila. L, comma, Aquila. Yeah. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So this movie really confused me. And now I understand where Labyrinth got their opener from.
Yeah.
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 Because everyone knows the opener for Labyrinth. Everyone. We will cover Labyrinth, but we're doing that on a very special day. But this starts off with an opening of, you hear the hawk, you hear like something, and then the font is awesome looking. I love the font.
Similar to what's on the cover.
Not really. It had more jagged edges.
Yeah, but it's like the same layout.
Yeah.
And then, but like the font, the letters themselves are like this more like
they look
jagged,
like scythes.
They kind of it reminds me of like if you were to pick up a paperback novel.
Yeah.
Like a fantasy novel, it would be like written like that.
And then it was an orchestrated rock song in the background.
It's like so I wrote down in my notes for this like that the music throughout this whole movie is like this weird like slightly rocky orchestrated funky synth.
It didn't fit some of the scenes.
No, it's so weird. Like, and this credit sequence, it literally kicks off with, it's like all upbeat and synthy, and it felt to be like we should have been like running alongside Rocky Balboa training to fight Apollo Creed. Like, it was so weird.
But then he had to have like the peasant robes, and he's not going up the steps in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Check mark for one thing. But he's going up like the steps of like the cathedral. Like it felt weird.
It's so weird, so strange. Like I don't know what the thought process was there.
I put opening music is cool, but it reminds me of Xanadu.
Okay.
Like, and you can see where the 80s high fantasies pulled from each other. But I will say, after watching this, I still love Labyrinth's opening a hell of a lot more. Maybe it's because I like owls more than hawks.
I think it's the Bowie.
I just put burb. Every time I see the hawk, I just put burb. Because I like burps.
Speaking of, the first time we see Matthew Broderick, our star of this movie,
he's digging the hole.
He's crawling through a muddy wall, trying to escape the castle. Like he even mentions like it's his mother's womb.
What was it? It's not unlike escaping mother's womb. What a memory.
How do you remember that?
What? Let's see. I kept laughing because it was him digging and then people hanging.
Yeah.
I was like, we just took a left turn with that scene.
It was a pretty like somewhat dark opening in ways.
This movie's very dark the whole way through though. Like it has very dark undertones.
It does. The undertones are very dark, but something I want to draw attention to with this is like, so you have this pretty straightforward high fantasy story, but we all know Matthew Broderick from his Ferris Bueller days. He's a naturally funny person.
The producers.
Holy
shit.
Even I'll go as far as to say Godzilla.
That's a lot of fish.
Yeah.
We can cover that.
Like his natural comedy and wit comes through in this performance, even though he's in this medieval setting and like.
What did I say at one point?
He shouldn't be that funny, but he is, and it's weird that this movie focuses on a main character would normally be the comic relief to the hero.
I will say, I wrote this. This was between the fight scene where he started bragging and shit, and I'm like, fucking dumbass. I know why Broderick is a bomb-ass actor. He gives his all in this fight scene. He never stops during the rest of the movie. This is why this man has a career to this day.
I agree.
He is insane, and he's a theater actor. So for him, you project and act for the back of the room. He is projecting. He is doing his best to stay in that mindset while always being in front of the camera. His faces, his expressions are bigger, are wider. I don't know what it is. Like, he made the movie, like, really entertaining.
You know, come to think of it, actually, I think this whole cast, Michelle Pfeiffer, I'm not positive, but I think Alfred Molina, I know, Rutger Hauer, yep. They were all stage actors.
I think it said John Wood was a stage actor, too, when I was browsing.
I believe that.
Which, honestly, I love theater actors. I really do.
They bring something else to a film.
They do. And I will say, I had mentioned it during the film, but he and Sarah Jessica Parker have been married for 26 years, have 3 children, and they met as theater kids in 1991. Well, not kids, but you know what I mean. They were theater actors.
One of those lasting Hollywood love stories.
Right? And you would think, Carrie Bradshaw, Ferris Bueller. How
2 different worlds
did this happen? I am a huge fan of Sex and the City. Not a big fan of And Just Like That. I saw 2 episodes of And Just Like That. 2.
And Just Like That?
That is the sequel to Sex and the City.
I thought it was literally just called Sex and the City
nope,
again.
Because it's not the same thing. It's called And Just Like That. Because when she ended stuff in the show, she would say, and just like that, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So that was the spin-off.
Gotcha.
I did not like that show. But I figured that someday we might talk about it.
God, I hope not.
Oh, I'm gonna make you watch all. I bought all of Sex and the City. All of Sex and the City, and I have a subscription to HBO. I'm gonna make him watch all of this, and he's just gonna be there for the naked boobs, and I'm okay with that because the plot is it's 90s sex. What do you want? But I mean, I've always been a fan of Matthew Broderick. Always. This just made me realize, like, he's like maybe 24, 25 in this movie, maybe even younger. And he's so good. I thought I'd be bored with this movie. I was not bored at anything.
No, I kind of went in with the same thought process. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this.
Yeah, we might.
But I actually really enjoyed it.
Yep.
I thought everybody gave great performances. Matthew Broderick was obviously like the fun side of the whole thing, but then like Michelle Pfeiffer and Rutger Hauer, they gave this like really this mystique throughout the whole thing where you never like entirely know them, but you know them enough through Matthew Broderick's interaction. I don't know. I thought everybody did a great job.
So I noticed one thing during the scene where the guards go get Matthew Broderick's character is named Philippe Gaston, but they call him Philippe the Mouse because he can get through
anything.
He's tiny. In the scene where they're showing where he got out, the drain is about this big. I'm like, there ain't no way Matthew Broderick fit through that. And then the hole gets bigger, and then it gets smaller again. But then I noticed the drain's on, it's off at one point, and then it's on, and then it's off, and it's on. And I'm like, did the 80s not pay attention to continuity?
Yeah, so in older movies like this, you're generally going to find a lot of small continuity errors like that.
Yep.
Because sometimes shit just gets...
And then in the sewer, when he's escaping, he goes from soaking wet to holding on to the pillar thing to completely dry to soaking wet again to only half of him's wet. And I'm like, what is happening?
Well, so like a lot of that ends up getting chalked up to the fact that movies like this one not really because the budget was huge, but fantasy movies and a lot of other like horror films, for example, they generally have low budgets and they have to shoot very quickly.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time continuity will kind of go out the window because they're just trying to get it done.
Yeah.
This one, maybe their shooting schedule was really strict, so they had to kind of just go.
Yeah, maybe that whole being in the sewer thing was just weird because it was only the drain in the sewer.
Yeah.
I noticed no real other errors.
No.
Except for maybe at one point he was walking out at the end with the cloak on, and then all of a sudden the cloak was gone, and I'm like, they probably were doing pickup shots and wanted a longer shot of them leaving.
Yeah.
Which would make sense. But other than that, I didn't really see any other errors. Like everything else seemed pretty good.
You know that Warner Brothers, when this movie came out, they they falsely marketed this movie as being based on a true medieval legend.
I mean, this sounds like it would be a medieval legend.
It's good enough for me to believe
Yeah.
that. But apparently, no. The screenwriter was like super pissed that they were calling it a medieval legend.
Studios take a lot of liberties, though, which
They really do.
fucking, it's terrible how much they'll be like, oh, based on a true story. He escapes, he's trying to run away. They didn't say what he did other than he's just a pickpocket. The whole time he's praying to God. Oh, Lord, if you get me out of this, I'll never pickpocket. 10 seconds later, he's pickpocketing a guard in a lake, escaping. He steals clothes throughout the, like, villages that he's trying to escape.
You know who he kind of reminds me of? A little bit.
When he's doing the whole, like, oh, Lord, forgive me, I'll be a good person.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Van Helsing? He reminds me of the monk. A little. Because, like, in that movie...
Are we talking about old Van Helsing, or are we talking about Wolverine Van Helsing?
Wolverine Van Helsing.
I have to be honest, I hated that movie. I tuned out.
It's not great.
Like, it's the only time where I was like, oh, Wolverine.
The monk in that movie, I will never remember the actor's name.
Is that supposed to be, Renfield?
No.
No.
No. He's like a completely new character, I'm pretty sure.
I gotta Google Van Helsing monk.
But he, in that movie, he plays like this monk who like kind of plays it fast and loose with religion.
That's Faramir!
Yes. He plays fast and loose with like religion in that. So like he there's one scene in that movie where he swears and then Van Helsing's like, "You're a monk. You're not supposed to swear."
I can curse all I want, damn it, is the video that pops up on YouTube.
I can curse all I want. Damn it. But
I got way too excited that this is Faramir.
his the way he plays that character, it like seeing Matthew Broderick like praying to God but then like continue being an asshole it just reminded me of it.
He's like, who wants a drink? I am the bravest, I am the strongest, I escaped. All the guards that are looking for him, and I'm like, I put
You dipshit.
dumb ass bragging and shit, what the fuck? And then my next thing
Your neck thing?
TSA took my quads away. That's been our big thing. We've been watching Smosh, Try Not to Laugh. God,
TSA took my claws away.
How am I supposed to fight Magneto now? But I got stupid excited when I heard you go, woo! Rutger Hauer coming on screen. He did this little woo! I was like, oh, fanboy.
So, to be fair, not only, like, it's Rutger Hauer, like, I've been a fan of his forever, but he shows up in this movie, and he's this badass, like, Black Knight,
with this sword,
brandishing a crossbow,
broadsword.
a huge broadsword, and he takes out an entire squad of
He has, like,
knights.
sweeping blonde hair and good looks, and I'm like, oh my god.
It was awesome.
This is the bad guy from fucking Blade Runner?
Yeah.
Oh,
In
god.
that, his hair is completely white.
Yeah, that I know. There's that whole fight scene between them, which was really good. Very good. And then as Matthew Broderick's character, Mouse, is running away, he says, "You filthy strumpets." I had to Google, I'm like, what's a strumpet? And then I got lost because I had to focus back on the movie. Next thing I said was, Mouse never fucking stops talking. He talks constantly, but obviously, like, you have to talk to yourself. You had nothing else to entertain you back then.
Yeah.
But he looked like a fucking crazy person talking all the time. It didn't matter what it was. He always he narrated his own story.
Yes. Which I actually kind of thought was cool. Because, like, it gave not only us something to, like, focus on, and, like, but it also kind of put us in his position.
Yeah.
Like, he's this type of person, and we're, like, experiencing this whole
He's kind of
story
frantic
through
and
him.
a little mad and, like, not sure what he's doing with himself.
Yeah. But there were also moments where I noticed that I thought he was doing that, just rambling to himself, but then I realized he was doing something else. So, like, for example, there was the part where he's collecting firewood, and then he hears it it was the wolf
Yeah.
coming. And he hears like the branches snapping. And he's like talking to himself that whole time.
Oh, and then he's like, "Oh, good job, Lewis. Hey, Philip, hold down
And
the fort."
at first I was like, what the fuck are you doing? But then I was like, oh, he's
pretending to talk to other people.
so he thinks so whatever that is thinks it's a group rather than one.
Yep.
I thought that was
like,
really cool.
Okay, that's very, very clever. So that's where we get to, he's with Rutger Hauer. They stay at like a very poor village for the night in like the barn or whatever the hell.
I don't even think it was a village. I think it was just like a farm.
Yeah,
in the woods.
It was like a hovel or something like that. And the people that live there tell him, "Oh, you can stay in the barn," because he's like, "Oh, we have coin. We can pay you." I don't really think they give a shit about the coin.
No.
But there it's like, "Oh, don't disturb me at night." Like Rutger Hauer locks himself, or Navarre locks himself in like a room, and he has a hawk with him at all times. There is a hawk just riding with him at all times. And as night falls and he's being chased by the Mouse is being chased by the wolf trying to get firewood, he's like, "Oh, there's a wolf, help me," and he doesn't realize what's going on. He breaks in, he tries to like get the crossbow, fucks that shit up like entirely. And then this beautiful fucking woman appears. Beautiful. Oh my god. I wrote, Michelle is so pretty. I think I just fell in love. She was amazingly beautiful. Still is to this day at 60 years old.
I think in this movie, this is the most beautiful I've ever seen her.
Holy shit. I mean, I love batshit fucking crazy Catwoman. Always will love her like that. I love her in What Lies Beneath. Right? That's the right one. That's
Oh yeah.
That's
yeah.
her in that's her and Harrison.
Yep.
And Rutger Hauer's their connection. But this was like, holy Christ, Michelle. No wonder why everyone wanted to be her in the 80s. Everybody.
Yeah.
Holy crap. I'm like, I wish I looked like her. She's so pretty.
Her introduction into this movie is very like
ethereal, almost elvish-like.
Yeah, it's a little bit ethereal. Elvish is a good way to put it. And it takes a while for you to really understand
what's happening.
What's going on.
Where the fuck did you show up? And all of a sudden she goes right to the wolf and she walks away with him. And there's Mouse going, what is happening? What is happening? Am I dreaming? And she says, "Yes, you're dreaming." And he's like, what's going on? So he goes to sleep.
That also brings in to something I wanted to just mention quickly is they shoot a lot in this movie. It's at least a few times throughout day for night.
Yes, they do.
So it's day for night.
They have to, based on the story. They have to do day for night.
Yes. Day for night, for those who don't know what it is, it's essentially when you make a movie and you shoot a scene during the day, but it's meant to be at night. So then you post-convert the footage with like a blue filter or something to make it look like night.
Yes.
They do this a couple times in this movie. By the way, if you're a filmmaker, don't ever fucking do this. It's terrible. They do it a few times. I forgive it because it was the 80s and who gives a shit.
I couldn't tell. I personally could not tell.
There's 1,000 ways you can tell.
That's because you're a movie dude. Shut up.
So what this scene where Michelle Pfeiffer shows up is the first time they do it. And in this scene, it's not like a blue filter. They do it. It's almost like a purpley, like slight haze. So you're not even really sure it's night until they start to, kind of talk about it.
Yeah, and say it's night.
But when they started doing this, I kind of wasn't entirely sure if they were shooting day for night and like these were supposed to be night scenes or if we were supposed to be in his dreams.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, is this like a dreamscape that he's in?
But maybe that's how he's remembering it. Maybe he's telling the story years later and that's how he was remembering that it was ethereal like to see her and it affected the whole evening that he had.
Maybe. I don't entirely know. Like I know it wasn't his dreams now.
Yeah.
Because I've watched the whole thing, but it was just kind of interesting. Like as it was going, I was like, "Oh, are we in just dreams?" Or What's going on? It was
Very interesting.
yeah, it was just a really cool idea.
I would like to point out that we are actually drinking coffee today.
We're always drinking coffee.
Where are we? My first cup was a huge Dunkin' Donuts cold brew.
You had your donkeys?
I am a donkey. I hate myself right now. We are drinking the last of Incubus's morning brew. I'm a huge fan of Incubus, and I really wanted to try their whole bean coffee, and I think it was a medium roast. It's not terrible.
No, it's all right.
It has what feels like it should be a big bite in the beginning, and then it dulls very fast at the end.
Yeah.
Which I always put like some sort of like pumpkin spice or French vanilla stuff in it, and then I put a creamer in mine. Just because my coffee has to go from when you make it piping hot to I drink it all day, and by the time I go home, it's like iced coffee, so it's got to last me through the day. And I don't drink that much coffee now, but I'm noticing that I'm not falling asleep again, so I gotta dial back on the caffeine. But this one's not too bad, but it is unfortunately the last of this. This is actually the last.
Yeah, we've been drinking
this for a while.
Drinking this for like at least the past few weeks.
Yeah.
And it's not bad if you're...
It's better than Stop and Shop or Shaw's brand.
Yes, we are basically done with buying fucking coffee from the grocery store. We're trying to branch out and get like more specialty brews and stuff like that.
And this is a YouTube household. So we are both using YouTuber mugs right now.
Yes, mine is from Top of the Morning Coffee Company
By Shawn McLaughlin.
Shawn McLaughlin, also Jacksepticeye.
And
Yeah.
my coffee mug is Build the Ladder. It's from Martina, the King Kobe. I love Martina and I love King Kobe. This is King Kobe. I could go into the whole background of King Kobe, but I'm just gonna stop right there because that's a whole different video. But yeah, we got 3 bags of Jack's coffee. We got Midnight Oil or Midnight Brew or whatever, it's golden hour, and then the regular one. So we're gonna start with the dark one, which will have to be the next video.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see if this dirty bean water is as good as he says it is. I mean, you know, I've drank a lot of dirty bean water, and so far, not a lot's impressed me. But back to the movie. So now, Isabeau. We're gonna call her Izzy.
Isabeau.
I thought it was Elizabeth, but I think it's supposed to be Isabella. But I think it's like a medieval, like the beginning of it, so it's supposed to be Isabeau or Isabel. I can't remember it, so I'm gonna call her Izzy. Because somebody called her Izzy at one point, and I'm like, it's staying. I'm calling her Izzy. So Izzy and the wolf walk away, and Mouse falls asleep. The next morning, he and Rutger, or Navarre, are walking, and he's got the hawk with him. They're walking, it's like cold, it's rainy, they decide to like take a break and kind of rest. And Mouse starts talking about, I had a dream, and in this dream there was this beautiful woman, and you can see, and I put Rutger's sly little shit ass eating grin, because he knows something, but he's like, tell me about this dream you had with this beautiful woman, because I'd love to know more.
This was the point where I started to kind of like figure it out.
Yeah.
It's like I started to kind of piece it together. I was like, okay, I think this is what's happening.
Yeah. To where, all right, I know that, but what's his big thing?
Yeah.
I didn't really figure that out till later. So then he kind of talks a little bit about Izzy. Or no, he talks a little bit about, I would much love to know her name. That way, if she comes into my dreams, I can see her. And then he's got that shit-eating grin, and I'm like, all right, you little bastard. What do you know, Mr. Hauer? Then we cut to a guard, or like the Vatican or whatever the fuck they are's guard, on a horse going through a field headed towards some sheep. These sheep part the seas. This dude hops off one horse, gets on another, and keeps going. It's like, did he just drive by, steal a horse?
I don't think he stole it. I think he traded off because like that horse was probably tired and he had to get there. It was
so funny, just like all these sheep like, nah.
Well, that's something throughout this whole movie. There's like, even though it's a super serious story,
comedy, but there's these little nuggets.
It's
of
humorous. Comedy. These small moments, like obviously
it
Matthew
doesn't
Broderick
take
is the main one, but
too seriously.
No, it doesn't. And I like that about it.
Because it could easily take itself too seriously and really pull you out of it.
Yeah. Could be like Beowulf.
Which
The
are we talking about Angelina Jolie?
Yeah, that one.
I love Beowulf. I love the poem of Beowulf. I have it in original, and I have it with Tolkien translating the text from Oxford University.
That's got to be interesting.
Trust me, like, it's taken me years to read this because Beowulf is a very tough read because it's in Old English. So you have to kind of translate it. So it's nice to have Mr. Tolkien translating it for you, but it's still being translated in 1920. So it's like, that's 100 years ago, dude. Like, I talk more or less like, yeah, you guys ain't shit, are you, huh? Like, it's very tough. It's very, very tough. But it's nice that this isn't taken completely too seriously like some other things could be. We cut to that guard barrel-assing, and it's not the guard, it's the main, it's the captain of the guard.
Yeah.
I forget what his name is.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Totally, he was an important character, but he was not an important character. Like, he wasn't memorable. And he gets there and he runs in and he interrupts the bishop with ladies dancing in robes and like all this other weird shit. But they had, you notice she had feathers on her robes. And I was like, huh, interesting. Who do we sell our soul to? Interrupts him and he's like, oh, how come you don't have, Navarro's head? He's like, oh no, how come you don't have the thief? He's like, Navarro's back. I shit you not, that priest pissed himself right there. I wrote, nothing like a priest pissing himself in front of everybody. And he's just like, walk with me. Like, Jesus. I hated that priest. I hated it. Even the actor. I hated the actor, which is good because when you're a bad guy, you want people to hate you.
Yes. And I think he played that part really well.
I think the example of hating a person so much that you hate the actor is the woman who plays Regina Mills from Once Upon a Time. Lana Palela? I know it's Lana, her first name.
I'm talking about she plays Maleficent, right? Not Maleficent.
No, she plays the Evil Queen.
Evil Queen, yeah.
I hated that character so much. In the beginning, there's a reason why I have a Regina pop. I love Regina by the end. She has her whole arc. She's redeemed. It's great. We don't talk about the last season of that fucking show, though.
I've never seen the
don't.
ending.
Don't do it. Don't. Just, everybody's happy and that's the end at that diner. That's it.
I stopped at Frozen. Like when they
Frozen was hard
when
to
they
get
were
through.
when they said that the Frozen characters were coming in, I was like, I'm all set.
What killed me was when fucking Emma became the Dark One. That was the one that was tough to swallow. But that storyline was incredible. Anyways, that's a whole nother topic. Because I get passionate about that shit. But you want to hate your villain. You want to hate them. Like Kathy Bates in Misery.
Yeah.
I have never seen Misery.
Oh.
But I know people hate her because she plays a good villain. She did that. She played a villain in Roanoke. She's played other villains. I hate Kathy Bates. I love her. I hate her so much. I love her as an actress. You want people to hate you when they watch something. And to walk out of there and go, I hate you so much, it affected me.
And yeah, I definitely think this guy, he does a really good job with this character, even though he's not really in a ton of the movie.
Not, but his presence is like the way his face and his stern seriousness. He reminded me of Rolfo from Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he reminded me of. Same kind of vibe, too.
He's very
Same
much
kind of story.
that type of character.
I just expected him to break out singing Hellfire at one point. I wrote chicken shit, and then I wrote ambush. I don't remember why I put... Oh, they ambushed him in like a field or something like that. They ambushed him in a field, and there was a fight, and somehow the hawk got shot.
Yeah,
with an arrow.
So like one of the guys gets knocked down, his crossbow goes off and
right through the hawk.
Hits the
But
hawk.
at the same time, this is what threw me off a little. He got shot, and then I noticed Rutger was shot in almost the same spot, and I'm like, oh, are they like injury connected? Like that's one of the things that I went, oh no, like is their fate so intertwined that if one gets hurt, the other one gets hurt?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
That would have been a cool way
Not
to
the
take it.
case, but that was like, I feel like that was the red herring they threw in there for you. Like,
Maybe.
oh, by the way, yeah, the Hawk got shot, but he's also shot in the same spot. And you're like, well, now what happens? So after that, the Hawk goes down, realize, oh, the Hawk will be fine, just needs medical attention. So Hauer's like, I can't do it. I won't make it in time. You need to take her. And it to me, it was like, I don't understand. What do you mean you won't make it in time? I don't get it. What the fuck's happening? You know, cut to Mouse getting to this castle.
Before you get too far there,
Yeah.
I actually have a funny story about this scene.
Really?
Yes. So in this scene, like you said, he tells Mouse that he has to go
Yes.
because he won't get there in time,
Yeah,
or whatever
that's what
it is.
confused me.
But so puts the mouse on the horse, and apparently the first time they filmed this scene, Hauer slapped the horse too hard, and the horse took off over the hill and off into the horizon. And the horse was too powerful for Broderick to stop, so everyone just had to stand around and wait for the horse to decide to come back.
So Matthew Broderick was stuck on this horse with this prop hawk.
Yep.
Well, was it the actual hawk in his arms, or was it prop? Because the whole time that hawk was wrapped up. There was a real
I'm
hawk.
assuming it was probably a prop. Like, I think they would have only had the hawk for close-ups.
Yeah.
But
holy shit, just Broderick be like, help me!
please!
Please help me! Oh. So Broderick gets to what is essentially, he said there's a monk in a ruined castle. So he gets there, and it's nighttime. And you notice that there's a wolf howling in the background. And I'm like sitting here like not getting it, not clicking. They take him in. The hawk gets laid down. He's like, I'll take care of you. Get out. He locks the door on him. A little while later, Mouse breaks in. And where the hawk was is now Izzy. Shot in the same spot. And I went, she is the hawk. Actually, I knew she was the hawk the whole fucking time. It's called LadyHawke.
It's called LadyHawke, for God's sake.
But it wasn't until, okay, we're going to give you medication. We're going to pull this out. You've got to rest. It wasn't until Imperius, which was the name of the monk, and Mouse are outside. And he's telling him the story about how the bishop fell in love with Izzy the first time he saw her so much that he was obsessed, writing letters, wanting to see her, and she was rejecting every single thing. So it got to the point where they confided in a priest there of their love between Navarre and Izzy. That priest broke his oath one night and ended up slipping to the bishop that they were in love. And the bishop sold his soul to make sure they could never walk together in flesh. Which means, and this is when it clicked, I was like, oh, she is a hawk by day, a woman by night. He is a man by day, a wolf by night. So they are prey and predator. So it would look very weird for them to be like, it's so strange. And while they're in their animal forms, they have no idea. None at all.
They lose all grasp on like memory and reality.
But the wolf protects her fiercely, and he protects the hawk fiercely, and the hawk stays with him.
Yeah.
It isn't until after a couple of times after Izzy is with Mouse a lot that the hawk goes to Mouse, and Rutger doesn't get upset. He gets, oh wow, she trusts you. That's good.
Yeah.
But at this scene, hearing Imperius tell the whole story about why this is and what's happening, and how he's like, I know I can break the curse. There's one day where day becomes night, night becomes day. It's not either or. It's both at the same time, where they can both walk again together, and if they stand in front of him, they can break the curse. And when Mouse tells Navarre's like, no, fuck you, I'm just gonna kill him. Like, if you could be with her again, wouldn't you want to try? He is like hell-bent on this fucking revenge.
Well, you gotta think, he says early on that for almost 2 years, he's been dedicated to this one mission.
Which is killing the bishop and getting his gem in his family sword.
Yeah.
But I think that's what it started out as. Now it's just pure blinding revenge rage. It's Death Wish medieval.
In a way.
Except
yeah.
Izzy wasn't raped.
That we know of.
Hope not. She's very sweet. She is kind of Spitfire, so I don't know. All I have to say is during the scenes where Mouse is taking the Hawk to Imperius and the Hawk is hurt, all I know is the Hawk is just in his arms like, meh! 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 I am peeking something fierce and it's funny. Meh! This Hawk is just fucking screaming the whole time. And I'm like, oh dear God. Oh, and then I think this is going to be your favorite line, so I can't repeat it. Imperius says it, and I'm like, oh no, that's going to be Shawn's favorite line. I can't. That's when I put, oh, Navarro is the Black Wolf. Right. And then I said, oh, she got shot right in the tit. And then there's a line that Imperius says that fucking broke my heart in two. And there's a reason why. I'm going to try my best not to get emotional. And I even told you this while we were making coffee. We lost a friend of ours a couple weeks ago. And it's still very, very fucking raw at this point. And if you can't tell, we're recording this. It's April of 2022. We just lost him in March. And one of the things about that funeral that we were all okay. We were all fine. Me and my friends, you guys, everybody. Until his wife came in. That's when we lost it. And this really spoke to me as what I see them now as. And the line is, always together, eternally apart. And it's very, very touching. And it killed me because this movie pretty much is that kind of story where you still have that love very close to you. But you can never touch or see them.
Yeah. And
this has, spoiler alert, has a happy ending. And it kills me that this is still a high fantasy. That this shit doesn't happen in real life.
Not usually.
No. And I wish it could, because I would give everything I could to have my friend come back to be with his wife and his friends and his family. But I even told you I was going to do this because it's still very raw. We're like, what? He's only been gone for 3 weeks. And
yeah.
I'm still not okay. So watching movies like this and shows, and I've had to listen to music. We put together the funeral video for him.
Yep.
I had to put together all of his music. It was tough. It's still tough. Certain things still spark you. And I thought for like the week, I've been focused on work. I've been fine. That got me. That really, really got me.
And things like that are going to happen. Like
Yeah.
you're going to get hit with these, like something that comes out of nowhere you weren't expecting to see or hear that'll just spark that memory.
And it was like, oh, that's a beautiful phrase. And all I saw is his wife in my mind. And I went, really? This is supposed to be something fun for us. This is supposed to be something that we look forward to doing. And like I said when we watched Aristocats, which we did that prior to his passing. It'd been a while since we had done any recording, unfortunately, just because life. You've been getting a lot of gigs. You know, you had just come off of doing a movie for a while. You had been doing a lot of gigs. You're getting a lot more gigs right now. Like,
yeah.
I was kind of in like a little rut, and I was getting out of it. And this, surprisingly, pulled me out of the rut. It's
something,
actually, yeah.
Something like this happening in life will kick you into gear sometimes.
It really has. It has kicked us both into such high gear that we are both making a lot of decisions about our personal future.
Yeah.
And we've made a lot of decisions about the podcast future and going forward with a shit ton of ideas we really want to do.
Yeah.
And I know I've kind of gone off topic with this, but I knew this was going to happen because for the rest of my life, you know, this person, I wanted to have him on the podcast. We had planned to do Godzilla, to do one of the first Godzilla movies with him, because let me tell you, he had an unhealthy obsession with fucking Godzilla. And after getting his baby photos from his family, he loved Godzilla. He's got pictures of him playing with Godzilla and dinosaurs in the sand. It is incredible. And I really wanted him here because I think he would have fucking loved this. And he was so gung-ho about this idea when we talked about, like, briefly last summer, like, oh, we really kind of want to do this. He was like, oh, yeah, it'd be great. Go for it. And he's one of the ones that I was like, oh my God, Joe would love to sit here and, like, do Godzilla. And I even said we should do Matthew Broderick's Godzilla because everybody hates it and he would have strong opinions about it. But, like, it was one of those things where now that that person that was a huge influence in your life is gone, you've dealt with this too. You have to figure out how to kind of move on.
Yeah, how to pick up the pieces, how to keep yourself going.
And I was only a friend. I mean, granted, he was one of my best friends, you know? I mean, for God's sakes, he was such a good friend of mine. I buried him with one of my Cthulhus. That was a set that you can never get anymore. Because he would hide it on me constantly at my old job. Every fucking day, this motherfucker would hide this Cthulhu. Every day. And another one of my friends, Jess, was like, oh yeah, I remember. He'd come to my desk and be like, hide this before Leah sees it. I'd be like, why? Why do you keep taking this? But I gave it to him in the casket because I was like, here, now you won. You win. He's yours now. You can have him. But this kind of hit me really hard, and I'm like, this stuff like this is going to hit us hard for the rest of our lives. And I no doubt anytime you do anything movie related, you must get hit still a little bit. Not as bad as I'm getting hit, but you must feel it. Yeah,
I mean, definitely, because I'll always wish that person was still there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just have to make do without him.
You stopped for a while.
I did. I stopped for at least 6 months. I tried to, like, just move on to do other things, and I came back because it's what I love doing.
Yeah. He loved to argue. I mean, I guess for him, I should keep arguing with people. But it just goes to show, and I want to say it here for people that are listening, for friends that are listening, because I know some of my friends listen to this and my family. You're not okay after this shit. I'm not. I'm 100% not okay.
But you will be.
But I will be. Because now there's less tears and more jokes about, oh, this is all his fault, or oh, he would have loved this, or oh, he would have hated this. And, you know, the people that this affected were never going to be okay. But we'll pick up the pieces and it just got really windy in here, so I'm blaming it on him. Things like that. And this movie makes me hope that there is a happy ending for things.
Well, on that note, speaking of big changes, kicking things into high gear, I think now would be a good time to mention that this podcast is being kicked into high gear.
It is, isn't it?
We very, very recently got some pretty cool news that so we do this podcast through Anchor.
Yes.
And basically since the early episodes we've had a sponsorship through Anchor.
Yes.
In every episode there's an ad. You guys have heard it if you've been listening.
My stupid professional voice on the podcast part, yeah.
But very recently we picked up 2 new affiliate sponsors.
We did.
And we are very, very excited about both of them. So we hope this doesn't deter you, but please don't go anywhere. Stay tuned for more on LadyHawke after the ad break.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled film talk for this important announcement. I know what you're thinking. Oh God, not an ad. But trust me, if you have ever had a passing interest in podcasting, then you're gonna want to hear about Anchor. Anchor is a podcast platform by Spotify, and it is way easier to make a podcast with absolutely everything you need to capture your audience all in one place. Anchor has the tools to help you record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And choosing to host with Anchor means that you can distribute your podcast on all major listening platforms, like Spotify, naturally, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and many more. It also allows you you to begin earning money with your show with no minimum listener requirements. Anchor was our first and only choice when we decided to start our show, and we cannot recommend it enough. So, if you have an idea to podcast, don't wait any longer. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And we're back. That was fucking terrible. That was so bad.
Oh.
Alright, I'm done crying. I'm done being an emotional piece of shit. On to the video!
Where the hell were we?
My next note is, the green screen. Because at this point, yeah, right? Because at this point, like, we've gone through the night, and, well, we're almost through the night, and the guards for the bishop have found them, and they're trying to break in, and it's almost dawn. And Imperius says, "Oh, Mouse, you need to protect her. Get her out of where she is." So they're running around, and and they end up on the top of a tower. And they're trying to hide or figure out what to do, and she slips and falls, and Mouse tries to catch her and hold on to her. And as he's holding on to her, she slips, and she's falling and screaming. And she goes from falling and screaming as a woman to flying and screaming as a hawk. And I was like...
It's a cool transition.
It is a cool, but in the 80s, it was terrible.
I
would love... Okay, this is the only time where I think CGI would have been really cool.
They did what they could.
They did what they could, but if they remade this...
Honestly, though,
You are a practical man.
I appreciate it better.
I would be... honestly, you know what my answer is? I want to see this have its day in the spotlight.
Yeah.
I think someone would make this great. Just not you, because you won't use any CGI. It'll all have to be practical.
I hate CGI. Like, alright, so in the right setting, like if you're watching a Marvel movie, you expect it. Like, I'm fine with it in those situations. Me personally, I never plan to make anything that big or that grandiose. So I would never want to use CGI for anything. I hate it. Like, I don't even like using green screen. If somebody suggests that they want me to do green screen, like my boss currently has suggested it a number of times, and every time I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Keep my opinions to myself.
So,
not a bashing
it's
podcast.
Just, I feel like it never looks good, no matter how good you do it. You can always tell, and it bothers me.
Okay, green screen was a great idea while technology was still trying to come of age.
Yeah.
We're in the age where, alright, look at Endgame for Marvel. Holy shit. The CGI is incredible, it's appropriate in its use. You say you don't like high fantasy, but here we are with a obsession of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Those are high fantasy.
It's a different kind of high
What
fantasy.
do you mean it's a different... It's high fantasy.
It is high fantasy. When I say high fantasy, I mean like sword and shield, sword and sorcery type of thing. That has never been my thing.
Captain America, Doctor Strange.
Sword and sorcery, like medieval times style stuff has never been my...
Shang-Chi.
Also not medieval times.
They've been around since medieval times. They even say it.
Yeah. I have also never been a huge fan of Shang-Chi.
Dude, that movie rocked.
The movie was great.
That was good.
But we're not talking about Marvel.
Wasn't sure about his comic relief, though. I wasn't, like, she was... Although I want whatever that butt plushie is.
Oh, the
little things with wings. Oh, my next comment is Rutger Hauer comes in, and he's there, he fights the bad guys, da-da-da. But when he comes in, I made this note. Why do you look so fucking cool all the time, Mr. Hauer? He looks badass.
He really
doesn't
does.
look bad in any of these scenes. He just walks in like, I own this place. Thank you very much. I don't know what his accent is because they Americanize it every time, which pisses me off. I wish he didn't have to I want to hear his natural accent. But like, holy shit. So then we clicked into what day to night and night to day meant. It meant eclipse. So in 3 days' time, there's going to be an eclipse to where Navarre and Izzy can walk together. Which I think if the curse could not be reversed, that would be a day you'd be counting down to. But unfortunately, eclipses don't really happen that often.
It would be kind of like Elizabeth and Will in Pirates.
Oh, where every like 7 years he can return.
It would be like that, which is a really cool like tragic love story kind of thing. I would even have been happy if that was where they went with this.
Yes, where it was here, like, okay, he killed the bishop, the curse can't be broken. Now we have to keep track of when the eclipse or day to night, night to day will be, so they can walk together.
Right.
Which sucks because they only last like...
It's not very long.
No, it's not very long what they last, but... let's see. Then we meet Doc Ock. There's a scene where Doc Ock shows up and he's a wolf killer?
He's a trapper.
An
expert trapper.
He's been employed by the bishop to trap and skin wolves for their pelts to prove that he's caught Navarre. But every wolf he's caught is not a pure black wolf. I mean, Navarre's wolf is black as midnight. Beautiful, beautiful wolf they used. Because at one point and I think it's a wolfhound. It's not an actual wolf they use.
Yeah.
Because, oh my God, what a beautiful, beautiful dog. Wolf. Dog man. Creature. What a beautiful
beast.
Beautiful beast. Look at you, you beautiful beast.
You sexy beast, you.
But Doc Ock doesn't last long.
No. His presence is pretty cool in the movie. Like I liked his character.
Do you know what he reminded me of? You and I have watched 2 out of 3 of the Hobbit movies. He reminds me of the dude with the unibrow in the lake town.
Oh,
That's what he looked
yeah.
like to me, is that character.
Similar, yeah.
But yeah, he goes out, tries to trap Navarre, finds a different black wolf. Navarre finds him as a wolf, does something, pins him down, and Doc Ock's character gets a trap through his fucking skull.
Yep.
Oof. Oh yeah, that was great. That was amazing. After that, I'm not really sure how we go from there to the next part, because I got a little confused. But from what I understand is he was so hell-bent on his revenge, he wouldn't listen to Imperius and Mouse. So Imperius, Mouse, and Izzy formulate a plan to trap him, not bad trap him, but trap him to the point where he fell asleep with Izzy and they could see each other once more during twilight.
Yeah.
And the scene prior to it is she's trying to get him into the little, like, ditch or whatever they built.
Yeah, they dig like this hole
in the ground where he'll fit. And he goes and walks across the ice, and the wolf falls in, and he almost dies. But then Mouse jumps in to save him, and the wolf almost mauls and kills Mouse.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, he's got like this whole side of him is all mauled,
he's all scratched
and
up,
his arms all beaten up. And they do this. They get him into the hole. They rescue him. They get him into the hole, and they see each other at twilight. And it must have been like less than a second that they were able to see each other as like humans. And I was like, that's heartbreaking to know for 2 years you have not seen the person you love.
Yeah.
That's, oh my God. And it kind of snaps Navarre into maybe this will work, but the backup plan is
kill him.
If you hear the bells go off, Imperius, you need to kill her in her hawk form. And he has a knife, and but I believe that Imperius's absolute, like, this will work, his faith in this plan made him realize that once she became a human, nope, get out of here. Because he said, Lord, forgive me, and he had this knife like this to the hawk.
Well, alright, I want to backpedal just a little bit.
Yeah, I think I went a little too far ahead.
So, something I want to mention is that there are some really cool moments of, like, tension in this movie.
Yeah, there are.
The scene where they're trying to trap Navarre in the wolf form is one of them. Like, when he falls into the ice and you're, like, everything is, like, frantic.
Yeah.
And, like, they build that really well.
And she's falling into the ice, but then Mouse falls in and he's freezing and trying to get the wolf out, and
yeah.
Imperius can't get there because Imperius is a little bit bigger and he can't get through the ice right, and it builds up a nice tension to, oh my god, are they going to die before they even get through to this plan?
Yes. To counteract your point about Imperious,
yeah.
About him realizing that like he can't kill her.
Yeah, he even said, "Don't make me do this."
I don't think it was so much that. I think it was he didn't do it like because he very clearly was about to. Like he was like, "God forgive me."
Yeah.
But like in the background of that shot, you see the eclipse happening.
Yep.
My theory, because they don't show it, is that he was about to do it, but she changed in front of him, and he was like, "Oh my god, it's gonna work."
Yep.
Like he knew that because she changed.
Or maybe because she hands the bishop her reins as a hawk.
Yeah.
What if, Lord help me, he was taking the reins off of the hawk, and when she changed, he handed them to her? Because I don't see the reins anywhere else.
They don't draw attention to him, and
no,
they should
they
have.
Don't. They should have made a point, like, if they are absorbed into her, or if they are something that they're just strewn about.
Yeah.
Because they've shown us several times that when you turn, you are naked. You don't absorb your clothing. He has to pull out her clothing every night and put it out for her to wear.
Yeah.
And vice versa. She makes sure his sword is safe. She makes sure everything is out for him in the morning. So it's like, it's kind of like we're traveling for two, but only one of us has to deal with it, kind of thing. It's kind of funny. We don't need all this shit, you know. We just need one outfit.
And you know, to the point of this whole like the way they visually present this shift, like from her to him, I think it's handled really well. Like,
yes.
Despite the fact that it's like all just basic crossfades, like it's nothing super special.
But they don't focus on that point. They focus on the emotion of the scene.
I think it's enough.
Yeah.
Like I think it's just enough to get you. It gets the point across. Everything. It's supported by the music and the camera work.
The only thing that they ever change are their eyes. His eyes come out of wolf form into human, and her eyes go into hawk form.
And you only ever see that in one scene.
One scene. And it's where the animal is turning off and the human is turning on for him, that he's freaking out, and she's losing her humanity, and you see her eyes go from that blue to that brown.
Yeah.
And it's in that split second where they're changing, and I'm like, I just did this face. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, I would be so sad. Oh.
But we're basically at the climax now.
We are. So, the plan is they have to face each other. No, they have to stand in front of the bishop, and the bishop has to see them both for the spell to break. So, the plan is Navarre, because he's fucking stubborn, and I put, you're fucking stubborn, goes in on a horse into a church, guns blazing, basically. All of his armor, everything goes right in. Because
he goes in not having no belief in this plan.
No, he has no belief.
And it isn't until he sees the eclipse.
The helmet of the other guy gets thrown, and he looks, and he sees the eclipse starting, and he's like,
Holy shit,
it's real. Like, that's when and you see him go, Imperious, don't do it. Like, he says it under his breath, and he's like, does he say, am I wrong? Make it swift? Like, or I hope it was quick or something?
Well, because that's what he tells to him.
Yes.
He's like, make it quick. So he says it again to himself.
So when the bells go off, he's thinking,
it's over.
It's over. I told you if the bells go off, kill her, so no one will harm her, and we don't have to live through this nightmare.
Yeah. Because at that point, he's thinking, I'm not making it out of here.
Yeah. Which, he would have made it out of there fine, because all those other fucking priests are, like, standing there like... I'm like, do something, you fucking clods. What is happening? Let's see. Fighting horseback in a church. Oh, Mouse said to him that he lost his sword in the lake trying to rescue him. So the sword is gone. Little do we know that Mouse hid the sword under the horse and buggy, so he didn't know it when going into that fight, he wouldn't have, like, I don't need to kill him with this.
Yeah.
I don't know the point of that, because he could have killed him with any other sword.
Yeah. I think the idea was to kind of discourage him from actually trying to kill the guy.
Yeah.
Obviously that didn't really work in Mouse's favor, but I get what the idea was. It just didn't. They could have done it a better way.
My next little things are nice shot with the knife, as he takes the knife and hits the guy at the top with the knife. Don't stab the burb. He fell onto my sword. So he's fighting the captain of the guard, fighting. Mind you, Rutger Hauer is doing great. This other dude sucks.
Well, I think that was kind of one of the things throughout the whole movie is like that Rutger Hauer is this master swordsman. Like he used to be the captain of the guard.
Yep. And no one else is as good as him. No one
is as
can
good as
best
him. But they also make it a point, like, and I think this leans into the comedy a little, is that every other fucking knight in this movie is a bumbling idiot.
Yeah.
Like none of them are very good.
Like he takes one out with his helmet. He right with his helmet. I'm like, damn. He fell onto my sword, and then the bishop is like challenging him basically until Izzy walks through the chapel dressed and says, does she say Navarre?
Yeah.
She says it very faintly, Navarre. My comment was, could you walk any fucking slower, woman? Because she looks like she's a zombie.
I do think it was cool though, because like the way they were shooting that, he was like fucking ready to kill the guy, and you like see her silhouette in the background like coming in.
Yep, and as she says his name quietly, and all anger just fades, and he's like, this is gonna work. And then he's like, see her, see me, and then he's like, fucking see us. I was like, damn.
You know what I love about this scene? They don't do anything to show you the curse is broken.
No.
Nothing.
Not a thing.
There's no big like magical overlay, nothing. You just assume it happened.
Yep. They say, Imperius says, it's done, boy, it's over. The bishop looks fucking pissed that it's done. Like he knows I've lost my power. Yeah. I have no power over these two now. And then I guess Navarre turns his back towards the bishop to walk towards her to get her, thinking, oh, curse is broken, you can't touch us.
So yeah, he walks back towards Izzy.
I call her Izzy.
They have like a little bit of a moment, and then Izzy brings her hawk reins and like kind of throws them.
Drops it in his hands. Yeah. Oh, and she turns to go to him, and he's like, no one will have you. And then he fucking takes that fucking broadsword, man. And like he's flicking a letter opener. Whoop! Did you notice that the sword on one side flared up? Like a red glow came off that side where that gem was supposed to be. It was like the gem. He fulfilled his mission.
I didn't notice that.
Yes, if you looked at it closely, it's one of the things that I noticed and I wrote down. I'm like,
I saw. So when that moment is so fucking fast.
It is very fast.
But it's like literally like 3 frames maybe. But when the sword impales him, the blade side that's coming out his back
is illuminated.
But
I think that's the fire.
I thought that was just because I thought it was the effect.
Yeah.
Like because it looked like they just composited it on. So I thought it was like, oh, just like a not perfect effect. But maybe that was supposed to be like the curse is broken.
I thought
symbol
curse is broken.
Thing.
I thought maybe that's the fire reflection, but it was literally here in front of him was the spot.
I didn't even notice that.
A very slight glow came up, and I'm like, oh, the gem's there now.
That's cool.
I'm like, so that's where there's magic.
I wish they had drawn attention to that.
But that's what this movie's about. All you know is the bishop sold his soul to hell to make this curse happen. The curse is real. It happens. You've seen 2 people watch it happen.
Yeah.
So why isn't there any other magic? Why can't that sword be something of a mythical piece of artifact too.
That's something I really like about this movie. Like, it's high fantasy, but it's like...
It doesn't draw attention to itself.
No, it doesn't draw attention to itself. It feels like it's set in a world where, like, anything could happen. Yeah. Anything could exist.
It feels like it's set in our world. Like, this could have happened. Shit was weird back then. Maybe it was, like, a form of dementia that these two had. And, like, anything is possible.
It's really interesting. Like, this... It's not like any fantasy I've ever really seen. And if more fantasies were like this, I think I'd like them more.
Yeah. I think you'd be surprised. A lot of fantasies are like this.
Like, this actually, in some ways, reminds me a little bit, like, it feels a little bit like Conan.
Never seen Conan.
So, the Conan movies, they're high fantasy movies, but they don't do a ton with magic.
No.
Like, there is magic in them. And it's like, there'll be like a sorcerer who can do some stuff. But it's never integral to the plot. Like, it's always like, oh, this guy can kind of see into what's going to happen a little bit, or something like that. Or there'll be like a crystal ball element. But it's never super in your face.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
There is a high fantasy series out, and I think you've seen season 1. I have not seen any of it. I've tried to play the games to no avail. Have you seen The Witcher, the first season?
Yes.
That is another series. I've wanted to ask you, does that draw attention to the magic?
Yes.
It does draw attention to it. Okay.
That, like, alright. From a production standpoint, from, like, it's a very good show. Didn't hit the mark for me.
I think you have to play the game. Like, I love the game.
I have played the game. Not completely, but I've played some of them, and they're enjoyable. I wanted to go back to...
They didn't do this to me.
No.
They didn't grab me as much as I wanted them to, and I have all 3 of them.
I wanted to play Wild Hunt in its entirety, but, like, because I've never fully played the Witcher games, I couldn't super get into it. Plus, it's a daunting task.
I have them on Steam if you need them.
Well, I have Wild Hunt on PlayStation.
Oh, I have 1 and 2.
I've the mechanics in those older ones I can't stand.
You know what? Mechanics are not the story, but that's why the series is there, for you to get into the series. So back to the movie. The boys, when all this is happening, Mouse and Imperius are crying. Matthew Broderick is bawling his eyes out, which I thought was a nice touch. He was so invested in, by the end, he is crying that they're.
It was really cool.
Yes.
Like,
I liked that.
That was a hell of a performance, even though it's like almost glossed over. Like, I was like,
he
damn.
Like, there's snot coming out of his nose. He's got red eyes. He's bloodshot. I'm like, are you alright, dude? Like, wow.
You'd think somebody got killed. Like, it was, like, that powerful.
But at the end, it's the 4 of them standing there, and he's like, I couldn't have done this without you. You're a great friend. This is amazing. And Imperius and Mouse just walk away, and Mouse is now with Imperius. Like, just, alright, on to the next adventure. So Navarro and Izzy can have a life together. And Rutger Hauer's last comment was, you cut your hair.
Yeah.
And then my last comment, there's no offense on the gay community. I said as the boys were walking out, come, let us be gay together. Let us be happy. Let us be happy. But it was just, they were so happy walking out. It's like, on to our next adventure. Go back to sleep. The cat just looked at me like, excuse you? And then my last note here is, are we going to talk about the creepy priest parish just standing there watching this all happen?
No.
Like 30 people just like...
Some other little things, like, I thought the costume design throughout this movie was great. Like, it's very authentic and believable.
Very plain. Nothing too grand.
But it features a little bit of unique fantasy touches. Like, the biggest one that stood out to me was, like, the knight helmets.
Yeah, they were like these strips of steel. They had, like,
these, like, grids over the eyes.
Yeah.
It was really cool looking. It almost reminded me of, like, football helmets, almost. In a little bit of a way.
Alright, okay.
But it was really different.
Unique.
Yeah, it was
very, very unique.
something I hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
I personally feel like this movie builds very gradually toward that big finale, and it's paced really well.
And it's not a grand, huge finale. It is the ending that you hope for in a fantasy movie like this. It's not something like, oh yes, we're celebrating. It's they finally are holding each other. Like the first thing they do. It's not kiss. It's the first thing they do is touch each other's hands. I was like, that's a nice touch.
And when they do kiss, it's so quick.
It's like this is we're not thinking about this. I just want you in my presence.
Yeah.
Like I want to see you. And I was like, that is the epitome of true love. And I'll say this. We just celebrated 4 years.
4 years.
Does it feel longer or shorter than that?
Doesn't feel like it's been 4 years.
No. But it doesn't feel like 4 years is a small amount of time, but it's a long amount of time. To me, it's like, oh, I've only lived here with you exactly a year and a half.
Yeah.
Feels like it's been longer. We've been together for 4 years. Doesn't seem that long, but somebody else was like, wow, that's a long time. With you?
I don't think so.
And this is the note I have for what you would essentially call true love nowadays is you don't get sick of your partner's presence. Literally in this little apartment, what you're seeing him to camera, you're seeing the edge of his laptop that is 4 feet away from me. From here, this apartment is so small. I never get tired of you. And you always say, tell me if you want to go, you want alone time. And I say to you, if you want me to just take the car and go somewhere, I will. We're never tired of each other's presence.
No.
I can just be sitting in the same room with you. You're playing a video game. I'm on my phone, reading a book. You're working on stuff. I'll sit over here with the cat. You'll make dinner. It doesn't matter. As long as we're just in each other's presence, I'm fine.
Yeah.
You don't need these big, grand, crazy-ass things. What did we do for our anniversary? We got lunch.
Yeah, that was
Unfortunately,
really it.
we had disastrous news.
Yeah.
The day prior, unfortunately. Our friend passed away, and then on our anniversary, my great aunt passed away. So that whole week was terrible.
Yeah,
but essentially, having you and me being in your life it's amazing when you realize what true love is to you. It's literally sitting here on a rainy day watching you work, because he never fucking stops working. I'm not even kidding. He's always working on something.
I wish she was joking.
I love it. And me, I'm always either on TikTok, listening to K-pop, watching YouTube, doing my own thing. Sometimes I'll do my own work, I don't have 6 months of photography stuff backed up. But
we gotta finish your website, by the way.
I've been paying for a website for a year. They've got $120 out of me, and I haven't done anything. But this movie is what I believe love really is. It's being in the presence of your partner. It's appreciating the little things about your partner. I know I can be a pain in the ass. I know I can be annoying. I know I can be a lazy piece of shit. Lately, I've been bad. But, you never get upset with me about it. You're like, it's fine. You'll be fine. It's fine. I always ask, are you mad at me? Are you upset? Is everything okay?
I don't see a point in being mad about stupid shit.
I mean, but you could get mad.
But I'm not gonna.
I would like a little bit of fight here. We don't even disagree on this fucking podcast sometimes. Even when we're like, oh yeah, I hated it. Oh yeah, but I can see the good things. Oh, I hated it, but I can see the good things. We always come to a head where it's like, yeah, it wasn't so bad, even though I wasn't a fan of it.
Yeah.
That's why I think we need somebody else that absolutely hates a movie, so you'll have a little bit of a
somebody to butt heads with.
Let me call my brother.
Oh God.
He wouldn't have watched this.
No.
You think I can get my sister Abby to watch this? I think she'd hate this. She'd be like, this is so Velveeta. I had to, just once.
Get out.
Come on. It's so... I'm taking it back, Ted.
Anyway. My last real thought on this movie is, I personally think it's a beautiful fantasy tale it not only shines in its imaginative storytelling, but it allows for its visuals to guide the narrative every step of the way.
There wasn't a lot of dialogue. There wasn't a huge amount of dialogue. And there wasn't these huge grand sets or these beautiful... Lord of the Rings, compared to this, it's an amazing tale, but it lets the dialogue and the settings tell the tale. This, the characters' faces, the appreciation they had for each other, this is a sleeper hit that I'm upset people don't like more.
Yeah, I agree. The performances in this movie are amazing. Like, both, I kind of said this earlier, but both Michelle Pfeiffer and Rutger Hauer, they portray these characters with, like, they're mysterious, but they're, like, heavily tormented because they are being kept apart, and you feel it.
Yeah. Every
scene that they're in. And Matthew Broderick is very clearly having fun with this character.
Yes.
But at the same time, he delivers every scene with a sincerity and a charm that more fantastical movies like this don't usually have.
Yeah.
And I respect the hell out of it. I think it's a weird mashup of elements that nobody's really done before, at least that I've seen, and I really think it works personally.
I think this is definitely going to go into my top 20.
You think so?
Yeah. It's going to be low on it, but this one deserves more love. It really does. I mean, again, until I started researching, like, high fantasy movies, I'd never heard of this. Ever.
No.
And when you hear Matthew Broderick, Rutger Hauer, and Michelle Pfeiffer, I was like, what the fuck is this?
How didn't I hear about this?
Right. And then I was reading where Sean Penn and Dustin Hoffman were considered for Mouse's role. And who did I say that was considered for?
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell was supposed to be Navarre. No!
See, if those people had been cast, I think the movie still would have been great, but it would have been a far different movie.
It would have been a different movie. I mean, Sean Penn, I don't like Sean Penn. Not a fan.
Yeah, he's alright.
Dustin Hoffman?
Dustin Hoffman's a great actor.
I just see him as the old Dustin Hoffman. I don't know him from his young... I know he did Mrs. Robinson.
The Graduate.
It's the same fucking movie. That's another one we gotta watch. Because all I have is... Mrs. Robinson. That gets stuck in my head constantly sometimes.
Demonetized.
What?
I said demonetized.
Hey.
We can't monetize anyway.
No. Why would we want to monetize on YouTube? I do too much stupid shit, and I swear too much to be monetized on YouTube.
I think that brings us into our kind of like closing questions.
Yeah.
Which I think we just answered overall thoughts on the film.
Let's give Cliff Notes. Let's answer these questions in 10 words or less. It's gonna be tough.
Overall thoughts.
Very good movie. I wish more people knew about. 9 words.
I probably can't do it in 10 words
No, you
or
can't.
less.
You're so articulate. You're so good with words.
Personally, I really like this movie. I think it was an incredible experience that I wasn't expecting. Mm-hmm. It definitely made me respect high fantasy more.
Respect the drip, Karen. Come with me, Shawnee. I will show you the road to good high fantasy.
And I'll show you the road to shitty ones.
You mean your horror collection? I've already watched Hellraiser.
No, I'm talking about shitty fantasy. I'm talking Deathstalker.
Deathstalker?
Oh, yeah.
What the hell's Deathstalker?
Oh, you'll see. That's in our wheelhouse.
No. I'm giving more ideas and I hate it.
Favorites.
I think my favorite scene is him going through the woods and stealing the clothes and like looking at the kids going, "Good morning." He just took Dad's shoes. And he's still talking to himself. You filthy scrumpet. Like that right there. That's the line. And you cut your hair. Little things. What about you?
My favorite scene, I think, was when they test the transformation and they see each other for the first time in 2 years. That, like, it was just very strong.
It's very heartfelt. Very, like, you're sitting there going, oh man, if I couldn't see my partner for 2 years, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
Like, and Rutger Hauer does the like,
technically
screams.
Technically, we got a taste of that during COVID.
Yeah, we couldn't. It was 2.5 months I couldn't see you, and the one time Liz and I had to, my roommate Liz at the time, one of my other friends, we went to this Walmart to pick up picture frames because we decided to hang photographs and stuff. Me, her, and Erica. We came here to see each other, and I literally had to be in the car on the other side of the road, and you had to stand in your driveway. We couldn't touch each other. We couldn't go near each other because we didn't know what was happening. Right. And I'm very immune compromised, unfortunately, with a chronic illness and, type 2 diabetes. We still don't know the repercussions, and I made it past March 17th. Couldn't celebrate this, but I made it past the 2-year anniversary. No COVID that we know of. But I made it. But yeah, that honestly, not seeing you for 2 months, that was the reason why I went, you just want to move in. Like, I think after we got through that initial COVID, we knew it's like, yeah, it's you and me, baby. Like, we're not gonna do this with anybody else. It's the 2 of us, and then you got a cat. Now we're stuck with each other for the rest of our lives.
Or at least the rest of hers.
She's been really good this episode. You have not seen her. It's like she went into her perch bed and has not moved since we started talking. She made a guest appearance on Aristocrat several times. But she was like, Mom and Dad are working. Time to sleep. Yeah. Like, that was exactly like 2.5 months. It was a rough 2.5 months. Yeah. And when I could finally see you, like, I felt so bad because you didn't even talk to anybody or hang out with anybody. I at least had my roommates. You didn't.
Was what it was.
You didn't even see the 2 downstairs. No. Because you just didn't know what would happen. Right. Fucking, man, COVID took a lot from us. I'll say that. Fuck COVID and this bullshit. I am glad that things are starting to at least a little settle down and we can see people. I was very happy that for one of the funerals, we didn't really have to wear masks because we knew everybody was extremely safe. Yeah. And careful. And it was nice to see people's full faces for once.
Agreed.
Like, I wear a mask everywhere. That's the first time we've not worn a mask around people, and it was really like I see my 2 friends that were my 3, 4. I don't know how many people do I work with that I know that went to
too that. Fucking many.
Too many. But it was I see their faces every day, but it was nice to see other people's faces. It was like, oh my god, like life is never going to be normal again. But it's getting there. Like, it's a new normal, which is okay. I'm fine with this. If I've got to wear a mask for the rest of my life,
so be it.
It just means I might not get a cold or the flu, and I'm okay with that. I didn't get a cold or flu this year, so back on track.
Yes. I had a few favorite lines. The first one being a classic that is used in countless movies.
I fucking knew it.
And it pops up here when he first takes the injured Hawk to, what the hell's his name? Imperious. He's like, I have the Hawk. I was sent here by a man named Navarre. And Imperious just goes, Mother of God.
It was so funny.
It's always funny to hear. Another one, obviously had to make my list, was Always Together, Eternally Apart. That was a very strong line.
Ugh.
Beautifully written.
Hurts. But it is a beautiful line.
One line that stood out, which it's said almost in passing, most people probably wouldn't even pay attention to it, but it's early on when Navarre and Mouse are talking in the woods. I think it's like one of the first times they stop.
Okay.
Mouse says to him, Sir, the truth is, I talk to God all the time, and he's never mentioned you. I just like that phrase.
That little quip. That's funny.
It was a good line. Does the movie work?
Yes, this movie works very well. It doesn't feel like it's a dated piece until you get to the green screen parts and the transformation part. And even that doesn't fully take me out of it. This works very well. I'm getting more and more bummed that not a lot of people know about this movie. Like, really, I am. The more I think about it, this movie works very well. It's very good. It's not the most amazing piece of cinema I've seen. It's not the most amazing piece of cinema I've seen. But this really should be up there with the other high fantasies from the 80s. Everyone talks about Legend, Labyrinth, Dark Crystal. Why don't we talk about this? This is beautiful.
We really should.
We really, really should. Does it work for you?
This absolutely did work for me. I think it's a really great film. Like, it's a great story, more importantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, some of the technology behind it is dated now, but for someone who loves older films anyway, none of it bothers me.
Yeah.
I actually prefer it that way. I wouldn't want it to be super CG heavy or anything.
You don't want to give this the endgame treatment?
No, like, I don't want to see the transformation of a woman into a bird. Like, I like that it's just a crossfade.
It's just bird lady.
It's
lady
so
bird.
simple.
This is so quick.
Would you recommend it?
100%. I am actually going to recommend this. I'm going to hand this to people now and be like, here's my copy of LadyHawke. Fucking watch it. Oh, I'm showing my Unisana shit.
And then you'll never get it back.
I know. Like, this took me a while to get because it was available for like a month, and then all of a sudden for 3 months it wasn't. So it seems like it has like a niche following, like a cult following that people buy it. It's already sold out again. Like, you can't get this copy.
I'm glad you got it.
Yeah, I'm really glad I pulled the trigger and bought this one when I did. I bought this with like Labyrinth and Interview with the Vampire, which I got like the Spanish release of Interview with the Vampire. Like, what the fuck?
Shit happens.
Fuck you, Amazon.
Yeah, with Amazon you have to be super like careful when you buy stuff. Like, especially if it's like a cheap version of the movie.
And, yeah, like, this is not, there's no special editions. It just says archive collection. It's literally just the movie. That's all this is. There's nothing else on it. And you pointed out that it looks beautiful and it's seamless, but when you pause it, that grain from the VHS or that grain from the film is there, and you were like, I love it.
Yeah, well, that's because it's a film transfer. You're gonna keep those elements, and I really like that. Like, I love seeing a movie from like the 70s or 80s and like seeing the imperfections in the film that transferred over.
Well, that's why you like that House of the Dead movie so much. It's a newer
House of the Devil.
House of the Devil. It's a newer film. But even though it's a newer film, there's a heavy grain on that, and there's like this quality where the darks or the shadows are very dark, and there's grain. And I personally thought the movie was boring.
I don't know for sure if he shot that on film or if he digitally created that.
You have the technology.
Yeah, I'd have to look into it.
It's too bad we can't do that one on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's like very recent, within the last 5 years, I think.
No, not that recent.
Within the last 10?
Maybe 10, but not 5.
I'd like to do more. I really wish we could push this into like the 2000s.
Well,
because then my ass would be putting Lord of the Rings slap right on here.
Maybe we'll figure out a way to do something.
What if it was shot in the 90s?
Has to be released.
Come on, Lord of the Rings was shot between 1997 and 1999 in New Zealand.
No.
I'll get Lord of the Rings, kids. We're gonna do these Lord of the Rings.
You're gonna knock everything over.
What the hell is over here?
A lot. Stop.
We'll do these ones.
My God.
They're beautiful and terrible at the same time.
Very obviously, I would also recommend this movie. Definitely if you're a fantasy person.
Yeah.
If you like things like Lord of the Rings or Conan or any of that, like,
this is early stuff.
Old
like,
school.
You see, like, Lord of the Rings and like newer fantasy. You see where they pull shit from. It's gorgeous to see where the inspiration's from.
Yeah. Granted, this is a much more tame like type of sword and sorcery kind of movie, but it's really entertaining.
It's not Dungeons and Dragons with Jeremy Irons.
Thank fucking God.
I cannot. And Thora Birch. I can't wait to see that. Thank you, Red Letter Media, for making me never want to watch that movie ever.
What a shit show.
Yep.
How would you make this today?
Boy. I honestly think this would do... We say it all the time, but fuck it. It's the new format, and screw you guys if you hate it. Limited series, 6-part episode. I'd follow Mouse, then I would follow Izzy, then I would follow Navarro, then I would merge all of them up, and then go to the climax in the last 2. I would love to tell those 3 stories individually, and then
Like
get the
in
love
their entirety?
in their entirety, and then get the love story part, and then merge the 3 of them in the last 2. I think it would be awesome. Use even less technology. You never see the transformation. I would focus still on the eyes in that one part, because that's really where a lot of that scene came from, was their eyes. I would love to see a bit more of a harsher environment that they're going through, just like for the trials and tribulations of it. But yeah, I would 100% do this now. 6-part limited series, and make it as very little magic, very little of that, and only suggestions and whispers other than the transformations. What about you?
I have to agree. I would say limited series would probably be the best format if you wanted to retell this, because then you could delve into more of the deeper aspects. However, if I were going to do it, I would still try and keep it as limited and tame as possible. I wouldn't want to delve into the magic anymore. I wouldn't want to delve into the actual curse anymore. Like, I'd want to keep it as mysterious and simplified as possible, but just kind of give us more character stuff.
Yes, I want to know more about the 3 of them.
Yeah.
How they fell in love.
Even Imperious, yeah.
I want to know more about him.
I'd like to know more. Like, we
we
get a lot of him, but
one thing we didn't mention is he is the priest that slipped to the bishop. So he has carried this guilt for 2 years.
yes, and I like the fact that it was an accident because he has a drinking problem.
Yes.
That was cool.
Yep.
Like, it made it so it was like it's a burden he's had.
He didn't mean to do it, but when he did it, he realized that he had just screwed over friends, screwed over life, and he went into hiding. He literally went into hiding in a ruined church.
Yeah.
Story's good, guys. Honestly, when we explain the movies, we do so in a very jumpy, kind of weird narrative way.
A little bit all over the place.
Yeah, but I recommend still go watch this. Maybe you'll catch something we missed.
I hope you do.
Oh God, I would love it if people were like, "Hey, you guys missed this. Please tell us if we missed something."
Yeah.
Please tell us if we were wrong about something too. Or if you have like an idea where we say, "Oh, well, maybe Mouse is this," or maybe you're like, "Oh no, this is actually what happened." So I would love that.
Yeah, I honestly start a conversation
Yep.
about it. I want to know what people think. But now the big question. Is this mainstream, exploitation, or other?
I think they were going for mainstream. I think at the time they were trying to follow along with a lot of the other stuff because Conan was around this time. I'm going to say that this is mainstream, strong mainstream, slightly other, no exploitation in this at all.
I definitely agree. I think it's meant to be mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely has nothing exploitive about it.
Nope.
I think it's meant to be mainstream, but I think because it's mostly overlooked or forgotten, it slides more into the other category. Yeah. But I wish it was more well known.
I'm gonna put this up on my Facebook, on my personal Facebook. I'm gonna be like, guys, watch this. If you haven't watched this, it's so good. And listen to our podcast.
Listen to our podcast, please.
Please.
Listen.
We do have quite a few listeners. And
We do, more than I would expect.
And I do have to say, somewhere in the Middle East, episode 4 is making its rounds, and we have up to 51,000 views.
On the YouTube version.
On the YouTube version.
That's fucking insane.
Which, every time I check that, like, we must have gotten caught in, like, a loop for that
Like the
female
algorithm.
Yakuza tale. Because I looked at it one day, and it was up to, like, 21,000. I looked at him, and I'm like, what the fuck happened? He's like, we got stuck in a loop somewhere.
Something happened. It got promoted.
Shout out to the Middle East for liking that video. Just because we talk about tits and stuff going up people's vaginas, like, for most of the video.
Yeah.
But, Jesus Christ, man.
But I think that brings our discussion on LadyHawke to a close.
It does.
But don't go anywhere just yet. Stay tuned for the coming attractions.
Looks like you're gonna get a chance to meet the rest of the family. My psychotic brother just escaped.
Just don't want to spoil things.
We else need more turkey?
No, I'm pretty good, thanks.
I don't like to talk about my brother. He gives me nightmares.
I mean, it is Thanksgiving.
You know, somebody ought to tell him to get inside. Nobody should be out with my brother around.
He looked exactly like Terry, except he had this really wild, crazed look in his eyes.
There's somebody after me and he's chasing me and he's trying to hurt me. You're gonna hurt my kitty. Oh, God.
You're a real sweetheart. You know that? A real sweetheart. It's not cranberry sauce, Artie. It's not cranberry sauce.
What the fuck are we watching?
We're gonna watch Blood Rage.
Now, for those of you listening, watching, hey guys, I have no idea what you just watched. All I know is it's a movie called Blood Rage. And you've never actually watched this?
I've never seen it. I own it. I bought it on a whim because it was recommended.
Is it up there?
Yes.
Can I see the cover?
Yes. It is right next to second top shelf, second one in. I picked up a copy of this because it was recommended by another podcast, Bad Taste Video.
Oh God.
This is supposedly a brutal, violent exploitation from I think is it the 80s or the 70s?
1983.
83. All right.
I just want to see who's in it.
I don't think anybody of note. I've seen a trailer for this one before, and the trailer has some pretty gnarly shit in it, which I'm excited to see.
It literally tells me nothing. This tells me nothing. And reading the back of this, I'm trying not to read the blip. It just says 80s slasher heaven.
Yeah. It's supposedly quintessential slasher, but has some really gory shit, which I'm excited for. I've seen a couple little tidbits in the trailer, and they piqued my interest. Let's just say that.
Piqued your interest. Oh, hello.
But we're shifting from high fantasy to violent,
blood and gore,
gory slasher.
That's the house that we live in. There's cute things and K-pop on one side and a whole fucking wall of death on the other. Welcome.
But I'm very excited. Thank you, Bad Taste Video Podcast, for the recommendation.
Honestly, we do have to say thank you, Bad Taste. Thank you, Red Letter Media. The two of them are pretty much fueling a lot of our thank you Cinemassacre.
Yeah.
Yep. Maybe a little bit of Stuckman.
Definitely.
What's the other dude? Help me. There's another reviewer you watch.
Another reviewer?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's not Stuckman, it's
Good
the
Bad
other
Flicks.
Good Bad Flicks. Thank you, Willem.
Patrick Willems.
Patrick Willems. Very slightly.
Patrick Willems does more modern shit though,
He
nothing we
does,
would cover.
But it's really interesting because I like his. What are you doing? I like his story.
The cat woke up.
Yeah, she woke up. I like his way of telling stories.
Yeah.
It makes me excited. So we'll I can't wait to watch this one tonight.
All right.
Does that mean we are about done?
That means we are about done. Hi. As per usual, for more recommendations on films or coffees that you should check out, or if you want to check out our movie collection or see some fun behind the scenes type of stuff, or if you want to chat with us, recommend us some movies, check us out and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Grindhouse Podcast. We are on Twitter at GrindhouseCast. If you'd like to hang out with Leah and chat a little bit. She runs our Discord, which is also at Grindhouse Podcast.
Yep.
I don't really touch the Discord, so that'll be all her.
Oh, it's all me. He's there. You can badmouth him.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't give a shit. All the links for everything are going to be down in the show notes. Listen to us and give us that 5-star rating on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you get your morning fix. New episodes come out first thing every Monday morning. If you're listening to the podcast and you want a more visual experience, subscribe to us on YouTube, where you can get every single episode in its entirety with video.
Sometimes, unless the memory card fucks up.
Listen, you get most video.
Most of them.
Because, every now and then we have a camera issue, which I'm working every day to try and solve.
Nothing's perfect here.
Nothing at all. Especially not us. If you like what we're doing with the show and you want to show some support, you can find all that information down in the show notes as well. Until next week, I'm Shawn.
I'm Leah.
Thanks for listening, and keep watching.
Peace. What did I say when we were walking around the other day? Deuces!
Kill me.
The shocking nature of many scenes in this film, it is definitely not recommended for the squeamish.